was executed by police.
Every time the lights turn on behind my car, I feel the police.
The police aren't going anywhere. The community isn't going anywhere.
At the end of the day, it's a matter of life and death.
Policing is a major concern in our city. As Minneapolis prepares for the upcoming election of mayor, how have the tensions between the residents and law enforcement become a forefront issue in the campaign? And how is our community coming together to bring about change? I'm Rena Kamal. This is Our Issues, Twin Cities. It's a warm fall afternoon in Minneapolis. For Kimberly Handy Jones, it's a reminder of how quickly the days have passed since the death of her son.
When he died, a lot of me went with him.
Cordell Handy was Kim's middle child. Originally from Lake County, Illinois, he moved to St. Paul late last year to start anew. But it was one fateful morning last March when police responded to a domestic violence call. After facing off with Handy in the street, shots were fired, striking and killing Handy at the scene.
He was executed by police. 29 years is a long time to have a kid and to have someone snipe them away from you. Very unimaginable.
Ms. Kim, is there a policing issue in our nation?
A big one. A big one.
The Twin Cities has experienced contentious police shootings before, such as the death of Jamar Clark in 2015 and the police shooting of Philando Castillo, whose aftermath was live-streamed on Facebook.
In order to move forward, you have to take this image and you have to show it to every one of your police officers that you don't want this in your city ever again. That's how you move forward.
That's John Thompson, a friend and co-worker of Castillo. Do you fear the police, being an African-American man?
Every time the lights turn on behind my car, I feel the police. I would rather call my pastor than to call the police. Honestly, like, I won't call the police for nothing. There could be a shooting right in front of my house and somebody else better call them because I won't call them.
Most recently, an unarmed white woman from Australia, Justine Du Bois, was shot and killed by a black city police officer, Mohammed Noor, after making a 911 call to report a possible sexual assault near her home in South Minneapolis.
Our hearts are broken, and we are utterly devastated by the loss of Justine.
Justine's death sent shockwaves throughout the country and even the world. Do you feel like she united the community?
I do. I do. I feel like she united the community and I feel like she separated the community.
How so?
Because there's a lot of people that realize that Justine's death is something that is a game changer. And it took Justine's death, it took the death of this white woman for something to happen.
Is it because she's white and the officer was a black immigrant?
Yeah, I do.
Following her death, Minneapolis Police Chief Janae Harto resigned. Now many are calling on Minneapolis Mayor Betsy Hodge to depart, including John.
We're asking for your prompt resignation today. We don't want you as our mayor of Minneapolis anymore. We're asking that you take your staff with you. We don't want you to appoint anybody anymore. Your leadership has been very ineffective, and if you don't remove yourself, we're going to put somebody in place to remove you. We do not want you as the mayor of Minneapolis ever again.
Why does it matter to you?
I don't want it to happen to nobody else. I'm sick of racism. I'm sick of racists.
Where do you think the cracks lie within the Minneapolis Police Department?
Leadership, poor leadership, and it starts from the mayor's office, the city hall, and the police chief. Lieutenants, leadership.
Everyone in the criminal justice system should accept their piece of the mess.
District Judge Kevin Burke has served on the Hennepin County bench for over 30 years. He says policing is not the only problem in Minneapolis, but rather it's a broader criminal justice system issue the city faces.
The idea of saying, you know, it's just the problem of the Minneapolis police, or it's just a problem of the Minneapolis Police Union, ignores the broader problem that the criminal justice system does not have the trust and confidence of far too many people of color in the communities.
According to a study by the ACLU, Black people are 8.7 times more likely than whites to be arrested for low-level arrests in Minneapolis. How has this affected the African American community?
Arrests end up impinging, even illegally, on employment. Okay, so you get arrested on a low-level offense, you miss work the next morning, your employer fires you. You get the feeling that you get rousted. You get the feeling that the police aren't there to protect the community, they're an occupying force. Okay, so on a variety of levels, it's just intolerable. Yet there are people in the community who think this is good. So if you look, for example, at recent editorials out of the Star Tribune, they'll talk about cleaning up downtown. We've got to be able to enforce these low-level offenses. Okay? That kind of attitude is, in the long run, very destructive, because it really is basically a code word to say, go out and roust young African Americans, keep them out of sight from the people in the suburbs. And that's going to hurt this city immeasurably in the long run. But the long-term solution is not that way. It really has to be that the police need not to be seen as an occupying force.
What's the first step to recovery?
Admitting you have a problem. Right? So I would say everyone has to get up. Every elected official, every judge, every chief of police, every police officer would say, the first step towards recovery is, I admit I have a problem. Right? And it's me. Right? I'm going to get better.
When we return, why police reform is at the center of the race for Minneapolis mayor. Last July, Justine Du Bois, an Australian native, was fatally shot and killed by a city police officer near her home in a quiet South Minneapolis neighborhood. It was a rude awakening for the community and the entire nation. Following the resignation of Minneapolis Police Chief Janae Harto, Officer Madero Arredondo, an African American and native of South Minneapolis, was appointed to head the department.
He's not the panacea, of the answers, but he is a light and a great piece to how we can transform the culture of policing.
Brian Huron is the pastor of Zion Baptist Church in North Minneapolis.
As a pastor and as an African American organizer, what are you doing to help close that gap between our residents and our law enforcement?
One of the things that I try to do is bring positive messages in the midst of tense situations. It's easy to be angry, and it's easy to start hating. But how do we channel our anger into something positive that creates something positive rather than destructive? The police aren't going anywhere. The community isn't going anywhere. And so how do we begin to work and demand the transformation that is needed and have accountability on both sides?
Civil rights activist Nekima Levy-Pounds, who attends Pastor Huron's church, believes one of the keys of reform is a paradigm shift in police culture.
It's going to be vitally important for us to work on rebuilding trust between the police and the community, but that means that the police department needs to be willing to acknowledge the mistakes that it's made and make dramatic changes in order to reestablish trust within the community.
Nekima has been a voice of reason among the impacted community. She's now running for mayor of Minneapolis, where police reform has taken center stage.
How will you change the Minneapolis Police Department in order to prevent civilian deaths at the hands of cops?
It's one thing to implement a body camera policy, for example. It's one thing to bring in new leadership. But without cultural change, those other changes may be shallow at the end of the day. So in order to initiate a culture change, that means looking at the training of the police department. It means looking at our policies for accepting police officers from other jurisdictions who have engaged in the use of excessive force.
State Representative Ray Den is also facing off for the position of Minneapolis mayor.
Ultimately, we need cops out in the community, not policing, but just interacting with people.
He too believes reform is imminent, calling for police to be disarmed.
You don't think officers need to carry guns at all times?
I do not.
Why?
Because there are situations where officers don't have to have a gun. I'm not saying that officers don't have to have access to their guns, but I think to always carry a gun in all situations, I think creates an opportunity for the reaction of an officer when a situation starts to go a little bit what might have been unanticipated to reach for their gun.
In times of danger, how will an officer protect him or herself if they aren't armed?
That's part of the training. De-escalation training is something that's really critical. I'm not against officers carrying tasers or other types of less lethal force, whether it's a nightstick or things like that. But I just think that it seems like a lot of officers, the first thing they do, and quite frankly, I think they're trained to do it, is to go for their gun. I know that there are people that would say, well, officers need to protect themselves. I'm not saying officers don't need to protect themselves. People said, well, what happened to the female officer that was shot in the head in Brooklyn, sitting on the side of the road? Well, she had a gun. That wouldn't have changed the situation. People have said, you know, officers are sitting targets in their uniforms. In downtown Minneapolis, there are many reserve police officers that are around the city to help, you know, keep incidences at a lower level. They don't carry guns.
Minneapolis City Council member Jacob Frey, who is also running for the chance to be Minneapolis mayor, has called for changing the department's procedures to require officers to use all reasonable alternatives before resorting to deadly force.
If somebody runs up to an officer asking for help, a reasonable alternative to deadly force is not to punch them in the face, right? However, punching somebody may be a reasonable alternative to deadly force under a life-threatening situation. So it really depends on the scenario. And you know, we want the deadly force. We want somebody getting shot with a bullet and killed to be the very last resort. And right now, it doesn't seem like it's the case at all.
Is it attainable in Minneapolis for us to just use all reasonable alternatives before resulting to deadly force?
I think it's attainable in every single city, and Minneapolis is one of them.
There are 9 candidates running for mayor. Many of the candidates believe one of the largest gaps between the MPD and the community is that over 92% of MPD officers do not live in Minneapolis.
We have folks coming from outstate Minnesota, even as far as Wisconsin and surrounding suburban areas, patrolling the streets of Minneapolis without a real nexus to the community, without a real nexus to the people. That leaves people with the impression that they are more like an occupying force than a force that's focused on protecting and serving and building relationships.
I think for some officers who don't live in the communities that they police, ultimately they have a disconnect, which I think it makes it real hard to see the residents as just residents and people going about their lives. We
also need to identify people who already live in the community, especially young people who might be interested in law enforcement, and giving them a reason, you know, to join the force. But without a change in culture, that's not going to happen.
How do you propose then the department roots out such officers who have explicit bias?
From the very beginning, I do want some training and the opportunity to take a commitment, as I mentioned earlier. Commitment to the community, commitment to one another. that they are going to fully expect good relationships, that they're going to expect accountability, 100% accountability every single day. And that the officers that aren't willing to make that commitment, well, they should be gone right away. And not to mention, you know, I think there are mechanisms to see and determine where officers are a little bit trigger happy. And those that are trigger happy, those that do have explicit bias, they need to be out they should not be on the job at all.
Up next on Our Issues Twin Cities, rebuilding trust between the community and law enforcement.
Inside Zion Baptist Church in North Minneapolis, Kim Handy Jones sits beside me. She says her faith in God has been her saving grace.
God gives me strength to keep going.
But not a day goes by without thinking of her late son.
Cordell was a loving person, just really charismatic, loved life, loved people, very free-hearted, and affectionately known for his smile and his laugh and those deep dimples.
Since the death of her son, Kim's been making her way back and forth to the Twin Cities, meeting with advocates of police reform.
How are you sharing your story in order to create change?
I go from state to state with the National Stolen Lives, and we talk about our tragedies, because our tragedies is what make us family. And my focus is to wake people up and to keep them woke, because so many people are not aware, and to be aware is to be alive.
What do you think needs to change in our policing system to keep our residents, to keep other mothers from going through what you went through?
Race is a problem. You can't look down on a person because they're black. The time you should look down on a person is if you're helping them up. And until that erases itself, it will always be a problem. And I think that policemen that know that we have dirty, crooked cops on the force, when they sit back and they are silenced, and as they say, silence is violence, and it is, because if it's blood on the crooked cop hand, then it's blood on yours too. As far as I'm concerned, you're just as guilty. You're more guilty. We need to get reform. We need to rewrite the laws.
With the new police chief, Madero Arredondo, many in the community are hopeful his appointment is a positive step towards concrete, systematic police reform.
Arredondo has been a line officer. He has worked his way up. He has experienced the discrimination within the department. He fought it, but he didn't leave. He stuck it out. He stayed, and he has the respect of the officers, and he has the respect of the community.
Which is so necessary.
Which is necessary, and it's unique. He understands the changes that need to be made culturally within the department itself for it to begin to build trust again within the community.
Candidates running to be the next mayor of Minneapolis believe one way to rebuild trust is through community policing.
I want you to know that your officer on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. is Jenny. And you know Jenny, you know her by name, you know that on those days and those times she's going to be there. And you've developed a relationship with her, and you're not alone. It's also people on the street. It's the businesses. It's a full-on community policing model that right now we're not very close to.
We don't have a good community policing model. There are excellent models around the country that are designed to build positive, healthy relationships between community and police. That's not what we have in Minneapolis, and that needs to change.
We do have officers that work with kids, but we need to expand that in a much, much larger way so that cops don't always feel like they're in danger and they're actually getting to know the people. I think that will actually make their jobs better and easier.
As the city of Minneapolis begins to pick up the pieces following the police shooting of Justine Du Bois, many questions still remain.
There's been so much fear, so much damage, uncertainty among the community. How do we begin to heal?
One way that we begin to heal is to make sure that we're working hard to break down the barriers amongst people from different racial and ethnic backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, people who are straight versus people who identify as LGBTQIA. Every single person matters. Every person's life matters. And we need to especially pay attention to how we're treating the most vulnerable amongst us. If we can begin to do that and put our ear to the ground and listen to the needs of the people who don't have political power, who don't have a voice, and we take their concerns seriously, then we will make sure that we are protecting everyone.
I miss my friend. I really miss my friend. I hate that that happened to Justine.
Like so many in the community, John's life was forever changed after a police officer shot and killed his friend, Philando Castillo.
What will it take to keep our residents safe?
Each other. It take each other to keep us safe.
John's activism in the community following the death of Castillo encouraged him to run for office.
I'm to step up. I'm to step up, and it starts with leadership. Trust me when I tell you this. If I can't remove them out of office, I'll run for their seats myself. That's what I'm gonna do. I'll run for those seats myself.
We all have to come together and say that this is an intolerable situation that needs to change. And the only way it's going to change is if there's really dramatic action by everyone in the system accepting their piece of the mess.
Elections for Minneapolis mayor are set for November 7th. Many are hopeful the new mayor will be a crucial key to police reform and a safer community for both the residents and law enforcement. Thank you for joining me this week on Our Issues Twin Cities. I'm Rena Kamal. See you next time.